Kevin 11 has arrived in the Chakitrix comic, and his introduction is very impactful. So let's read and see what he's up to and what big changes have been made. It starts with chapter 20 titled Kevin 11, where the family are on their way to the same hotel they were going to in the classic series. We spot a silhouette of these young guys fighting, and look who's there.
Kevin?
Ben uses Skate to rescue Kevin, which also de-summons Grey Matter. It seems her continued work on whatever this thing is marches on. I wonder what it is. Skate beats up these kids and scares away the guy who had that blood-curdling scream from the original show. Ben and Kevin then introduce themselves and they both hit it off, which is where they start taking a tour of New York. Skate advises against that since Kevin is literally a stranger, but he goes anyways since he can always summon an alien if he needs assistance. Kevin has a brand new design though, where instead of just a straight black shirt, he has one with an open front and a lock around his neck. This time, one that is a lot closer to the design that we received from Omniverse, but everything else in his design is pretty much the same. Anyways, the two tour New York, and we get to see a short backstory of Kevin and how he ended up being alone, where we find out that Kevin's father actually disappeared and his mother didn't take it very well, so she's assumedly dead. Kevin's dad being missing is very interesting though. Pretty sure that will be important for a later series. I can already imagine him being in the Null Void or space somewhere, but we'll see. Anyways, we cut to Skate telling Grandpa Max that Ben is actually out with a friend touring New York, and she doesn't even know where he is. Congratulations, Skate, you're a genius. I like how different the episode is in comparison to the original so far, because even though the base of the events are similar, it still feels very fresh. At the same time, Kevin and Ben break into a warehouse in order to grab what seems to be some Sumer Slammer games, and he explains his power as being able to absorb and release energy whenever he wants, with electric energy being what he primarily absorbs and discharges. He's just like,
I put a shock to your system.
Anyways, their Sumo Slammer bonding session is broken up by a SWAT team that has come to capture any intruders, and we get to see a cool remake of this shot in the episode. But I guess Kevin is a lot less surprised about what Ben is doing than he was in Classic. Anyways, both of them escape on Stinkfly and zip away into an alleyway. This sequence played out really well in the comic panels. It brings back memories of how good it was in animation for me. But regardless, a great job done by the comic artists. We end up having one of the most insightful discourses as Ben hypocritically tells Kevin that he shouldn't steal. But Kevin gives him a rebuttal that Ben probably got his Sumo Slammer card as a stolen present from one of his friends. Ben looks a bit ashamed because it's true. As we can see, once we cut back to the chapter where Grey Matter was first introduced, we can see where she told him that he should take the card and a blender. Still though, what is she building? Anyways, this sort of change might actually be the difference maker with the two, as I think Kevin now finds more solace in the fact that he can relate to Ben a bit more. The two end up deciding to become partners at the end, but of course, not for anything criminal. Let's see how far that goes. The two of them go to the railway tracks, and Kevin of course has his idea to crash the passenger train into the money train for
instant jackpot.
This sparks up a conflict between the two of them, and Ben summons Heartblast to take Kevin down and stop him from killing the innocents in the train. But it ends up going away very similarly to the series, where Kevin actually absorbs Heartblast's DNA energy, and we get a very different design of the Fire Amalgam Kevin. This fight goes a different way from the show though, where instead of Ben changing the tracks, it's actually changed by a wildfire blast from Kevin, and both of them escape off the train tracks. Ben ends up reuniting with his family soon after. A key point to note besides the killer design is how much more aggressive Kevin is when he tries to absorb energy, with Alien or Chakitrix energy being the most potent in messing with his mind. It seems like his power's greatest strength has now become his biggest weakness. This was always the case from the original series, but I like that they compound on it some more in this. We cut back to Ben and Team Tennyson as Ben is getting scolded out of his mind, but for a different reason than what we got in the classic series, since Ben has had the Chakitrix alien throughout the entire issue be the ones to keep tabs for him and let Gwen and Grandpa Max know that he's okay, rather than how the series went when Ben just disappeared and no one really knew where he was. So he's being scolded for letting them worry instead of being untrustworthy. A really cool shift in the dynamic. We get to the district where Kevin is about to slay the kids that bullied him when his fire powers expire. Ben arrives to confront him with his assistant Forearms. I love her, you see. Anyways, she's standing on business, letting them know that she wants that smoke. And after Kevin gets to absorb Tetraman DNA, they get to brawling. We get a new design for his absorption again, and this one is way better than the first Frankenstein Tetraman amalgam. It's not the main focus of this cover, but we do get alternate chapter art that looks really cool. I love this design so much. Now both Kevin and Four Arms go blow for blow and band for band with their battle, until Four Arms comes out as the victor. With the fact that female Tetramans are so much stronger than male ones, this shouldn't be unexpected. Kevin ends up crashing into a wall and he immediately sheds his amalgam form, unlike in the original series where he maintains it a little while longer. We get a huge turn of events, but let's read this one through a little slower. Kevin asks Ben if he got a bit too wild with his power. Ben does say a little, however Kevin actually apologizes and he's convinced that Ben probably wouldn't even want to be a team or friends anymore. Ben empathizes with Kevin and says that we can still be partners, kicking butt for good, and he could also hang out with his family. He reaches a hand out, just like what happened in the classic series. But instead of Kevin grabbing the watch and trying to absorb more Omnitrix energy, they become friends. Holy moly, he joined us! Let's go! This excited me beyond reason, and I was so happy to see that this happened. And we even get another chapter where Kevin gets his first debut as a part of Team Tennyson. However, we'll save that for another video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about how Kevin is, his new designs, and also him joining Team Tennyson. And thanks for watching. Over a year ago, the Chakitrix Fan Omnitrix exploded onto the scene, igniting fan art, animations, and even its own comic. But where is that comic now?